death is something to actually look forward to. Hello, my name is Kachanana and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're here for the first time, welcome again, and please subscribe. Also click on the bell button so you can get a notification each time I have a new video out for you. Today, we're going to be talking about something very sensitive, something very sobering, and something that everybody, well, almost everybody, does not like to talk about. We're going to be addressing the fear of death. Particularly in this period where we are facing COVID 19 sweeping over country to country, how are we going to deal with the fear of ourselves dying, or also the fear of other people, our loved ones, passing away? Don't go away. You know, I believe that the fear of death is actually a learned behavior. When I was a very little girl, about 5 years old, I used to see some videos, some movies, and they would talk about dying and death and burials. So I'd ask my mother, what is this all about? So my mother did not want to explain to a 5-year-old what death is, so she didn't. But my auntie, after a few glasses of wine, decided she wanted to let me know. So this is what she explained to me. She said, when you grow very, very, very old and very, very weak, or when you get very, very sick and very, very weak, you get to die. Your life leaves you. And then they put you in a box, a wooden box, cover it up, and then they dig a hole in the ground. When they dig that hole, they put that box that you're in the ground, they cover it up with the soil that they had dug out before, and that's it. That's the end. That was the scariest thing that I've ever heard. And guess what? It stayed with me into my adult years. And I discovered that there were other people, for many different reasons that are similar to this, that have learned to fear death. But today I see death a little bit differently because of my relationship with Jesus Christ and with God. Death, you start to see things a little bit differently. I look at death more of a transition. Stay with me. I look at death as more of a transition from one kind of life to the other. And I also believe that we have been going through different types of death throughout our lives without even realizing it. For example, when a sperm is released from a man and enters into a woman, the sperm is swimming and gets into collision with an egg, fertilizes that egg. Guess what? That sperm does not continue to be a sperm. It becomes a zygote together with that egg. It dies from its life of being a sperm to become this fertilized egg. This example can continue on. If we look at the egg, becomes a fetus in the womb of a woman and begins to grow. It gets nutrients from the mother through the umbilical cord. The food is pre-digested. The air is pre-processed from the mother into the baby. The baby lives in a beautiful enclosed amniotic sac. It lives alone. It's comfortable. It's warm. The temperature is regulated, but there comes a time when that period expires and that baby has to move from being a fetus in the body of a woman and becoming a child in this bigger world. So the fetus has to die from being a fetus and becoming a child that's going to use its mouth, its nose to breathe, its mouth to eat, and all those kind of things. So it goes on and on in different aspects in our lives. For example, even school, when you graduate, you have to die to being a student. You cannot be a student of a course at the same time be a graduate. It doesn't make sense. Until you graduate from this, until you finish your life as a student and you die to being a student, will you become a graduate? And when we give our lives to God, we also now have somewhere to go after we die. We're not just at the end, you know. We know that we're going to go into heaven. We're going to meet our Maker, our God, this powerful, wonderful, loving God in heaven. We're going to meet Him when we die. So, guess what? Death is actually a transition. It's actually some form of a promotion from one area of life to the next area. And the reason why we fear, the reason why I feared as well, is when people explain to you in a way, or when you understand it in a way that when you die, it's the end. But when you know that after school there's graduation, then you go into school knowing there's graduation. Nobody goes into school and says, I'll stay here forever without a plan. We want a plan. And when we don't know the plan, it makes us anxious, it makes us nervous, it makes us fearful. And that's how we develop the fear of death. So I believe that death is a transition. Death is something to actually look forward to. But at the same time, there are people who believe that now that I've given my life to Christ, then now all I have to do is wait for the apocalypse, or the rapture, and go to heaven. That means my life here is not important. It's like I don't have anything to do. But that's a wrong perspective too. I am reminded of the Apostle Paul, who said, look, I look forward to dying, and at this point I think I would be cool with dying, because if I died, I'm paraphrasing, if I died, I would go to heaven, I would meet my Maker, and there'll be so much celebration in heaven. I would really actually like to die, but God has given me a lot of things that I need to do on this earth, and it gives me great pleasure to serve Him, and it will make meeting Him all the more sweeter if I do these things and I do them to the best of my ability. It's good if you live and you work for God. It's good if you die and you work with God. Wherever you go, all things work for the good, for those who love Him. So do not fear. Some people fear death because they feel that it will rob them, or it has robbed them of the people that they love the most. There are people that you loved, maybe you haven't concluded something, maybe you had an argument and they died before you could actually have resolved that argument. Maybe maybe you just never did enough. I hear a lot of young people say, I want to build my mother a mansion and things like that, and that chance never got to happen, and they died before that. And it makes you fearful because you never got to become the person that you were meant to be, to fulfill your life on earth. Which is why I encourage you to live your life to the full. Wherever you are, live your life to the full. Whatever you're doing, do it to your fullest, to your best of abilities. If you're cooking rice today for supper, guess what? Make that the best rice in the world. Make what, if you're in a particular job and you feel like that's where it's supposed to be, make that position the best you've ever had, so that you'd never have regrets. Some people feel like, no, I'm not yet done with my life on earth. Do you even know what you're supposed to be doing on earth? Those are the things you need to be exploring, especially during this period of quarantine. Start exploring and asking God, what is it that I'm supposed to have? What is it that I'm supposed to be doing? Start exploring during this quarantine period. What is it that I'm supposed to be doing? So everything I've said right now can be comforting, can be inspirational, heartwarming, motivational. It's a sweet story that I've just told you, but it can be a reality for you if you have a relationship with God. It's not just an idea, it's a reality for some people, and it can also be your reality. What do I need to do, Kachanana? Which pastor am I going to go to? The churches are closed. Da, da, da. God is everywhere. God is here with me, and guess what? God is there with you as well. So all you have to do is call on Him in spirit and in truth. All you have to do is call on Him in spirit and in truth. So if you truly want that security, that love, that care, that direction from God, guess what? You can just call on Him. God, I want you with me today. I give my life to you. I confess my sins. I want a life with you today. And can you please show yourself to me? And I can guarantee something about God. He will show Himself to you. So don't fear. Don't fear. Don't fear. Don't fear. Take care of yourselves during this period. I love you.